Okay, let's talk habits. Habits as a nursery leader. What good habits have you developed as a manager? And what new habits do you want to form as a nursery manager to improve your performance? So I used to have several habits. And remember, a habit is just a learned behavior or a set of behaviors or a set of actions that you would do. And I used to have several habits as a nursery manager when I was running my nurseries to ensure that everything was done each day and that I could relax at night. And so one of them was that I check the rota before I went home. I would check the rota to ensure that I had enough staff for the next day. And when they would be in, I would kind of know the pattern of who would be coming in early and who would be coming in late and the people in between. And I'd check the numbers against the times so that I had that in my head if anyone called in the next morning, those dreaded early morning phone calls that we can dread, and we want to be always getting out ahead of it. So I was always of that ilk when I was running my nurseries, where I wanted to be ahead of it. I wanted to know. And so I had this habit at the end of every day. I would just check the numbers for the next day, see if I had wiggle room with the ratios, see what time everyone was coming in, so that I would know a plan to prepare myself. Did I have extra cover? Like I say, could I tweak the ratios a little bit? Or would I have to go in a room? It was like that mental prep of like, okay, let me just prepare myself. Yeah, if someone phones in, then I'll definitely have to go in a room. And so it was really, really good for me to do that. And I found that a really good habit that served me in terms of relaxing then at night. And obviously, we all want to be able to do that in the evenings, don't we? To have that switch off time. And so I would do that, and I would do that to check things. And then I'd check everyone's registers. That the other habit that I had was I would check the rotors, but then I would just go around and I would check everyone's registers as well, just to ensure that all children had gone and left the building. And I know by this point they will have done, but again, that was always like one that as you drove away, you would just like it was just always a fear of mine. So I would go around and I'd check all the registers and make sure everyone had been signed out, and I'd have a quick mental check as well. I check in with everything, like, are all my parents happy? There's no issues coming up. Are all the staff okay? No one I need to check on as before I go home, and I'd lock up and everything. Is everywhere closed off? And I would have these habits that I would do on autopilot. Okay. And this process only took me minutes, but it was always like my last thoughts as I left for the day. And it was a great habit that ensured I could switch off at night. Yeah, I wouldn't have that like, or that constant kind of underlying worry. And these habits would calm me down, stop me spiraling when I went home, ensure I could switch off from the day. And it was the way that I self-regulated myself, calmed so that I could move into my non-work time. And then I would have another set of habits if I left early. If I left work early before the nursery closed, and I had other habits for the morning open up and so on. And I'd have these patterns of things that I would do. And habits are really good to ensure you stay on track and ensure you do your very best in your role. So, what I want you to do is become aware of the habits, the patterns of behavior, the patterns of action that you have as a nursery manager, and understand why you have them. Because what we don't want to do is constantly just go around on autopilot, especially when sometimes we might have some habits that don't always serve us or could serve us better and become better habits that we have. So it's really important to become aware of the habits that you have and why you have them. Then some of your habits can be taught to your team to ensure that they follow your strong practice. And this is really key in your leadership, because one one of the biggest parts of your leadership is training people with your strength, with your strong practice. And so to do that, we need to think about the habits that we do on autopilot because they don't always become autopilot for everyone else. We can't just assume and presume people will do the same as us. And so we want to be aware of our habits so that we can teach them to our team. And then also, like I say, think about, are there any habits that you need to get rid of? Because we can have habits that serve us and habits that don't. So, are there any that you need to get rid of, or are there any that you need to develop? And how we develop habits is it's repeated patterns, it's repeated work. You know, when we say if you repeat something for long enough, and normally, I mean, there's so many different, some people say 7 days, but I think it's much longer than that. Some people say it takes 60 days to form a habit, but they're just repeated behaviors and actions until they become a habit, which is when it's on autopilot. We do these things unconsciously. So, are there any that you need to develop? And like I say, this is a great reflection point to work on and to keep coming back to because we can use this to develop really strong processes and systems in our nurseries. And remember, a system is just a pattern or a list of actions that you take. And that is a lot of what we want to lead our teams on, for them to follow the systems, follow the actions in the right order so that we make sure things get done and things get done to a high standard. And so the more that you can be aware of your own patterns of behavior and the ones that serve you and the things that you do to self-regulate, calm yourself down, ensure that you can switch off, teach them to your team as well. And not only will you have really strong standards of work and all the things get done and checked off, you will also have calmer, more balanced staff as well. So share some of your good habits, share some of the things that you do in this group, and see you next time.